Okay, where did I leave off before the cat had to go outside? Um, those kids were filled with the love of God, and they began to come up to the stage and give a testimony of what had happened that night. And the kids were saying how they needed to change, that they thought they were so cool, and they thought they were above the other kids, the Christian kids, and they asked other kids to forgive them. And there was a bonding and a unity in those kids of love. And we stayed and sang worship songs and praised God late into the night when we all went to bed. And the next day on Sunday, we were returning home to their church and having an evening service with the kids when they came back. And we were excited to see their parents, and well, we're hoping that the kids' lives were changed forever by that one incredible night. And as they came up to the stage and began to share their testimonies of what they experienced that night, they asked their parents to forgive them for being such bad kids. Some of them were doing drugs and drinking beer and being teenagers, but they wanted to now follow Christ. And the parents came up and hugged and cried. And soon as testimony after testimony came up of how Jesus had moved in their lives, the pastor, who was not part of our night, came to the microphone. Now, on the way up to that camp, I had shared with Rick and Karen Rowland and the other members of the band my dream of seeing Jesus and what I'd seen in his eyes. But I told him of that underground church and the river running through that church. And it had perplexed me. I had no idea what it meant. Well, the pastor of that church went up to the microphone in tears, seeing that there was love and joy and light being brought into his church. And he had not gone with us up there, and I had not spoken to him, and he did not know about my dream or anything. And he went up to the microphone and said, "A miracle has happened in our church. We were dead. This is a cold church, but God has brought us to life. But we had an underground river running through this church, and Jesus has brought us out into the light." And I looked at Rick, and Rick looked at me, and we were like, "What? Oh my gosh." And we went on our knees. I had seen a vision of what was going to happen that weekend. And those things continued to happen wherever, not every time, but lives were touched almost everywhere we went. We played a prison. And when we were done playing the prison, one of the members of the Mexican mafia came up and had us talk to their leader because he's in tears. And he had seen Jesus on stage with us. And it had changed his life, I found out later from the pastor that worked at that prison. Later, the band broke up many years later. I talked to Rick about that experience, and we shared that night of the vision and dream. And Rick told me, "Dave, I have met guys that were there that night." He continued to sing. He was singing in a large church in Los Angeles, and he sang an opening song, and the guest speaker there, well-known speaker, says, "Is that Rick Parker? Did you have that band, Daystar, in the Bay Area?" "Yes." He says, "I was there. I was there at that youth camp, and it changed my life forever." There was fruit from that we will never know how much fruit came from that night. Just a miracle of what had happened. Time went on, and my church in Oakland got attacked. We weren't prepared for the attacks of Satan against us. Working in San Francisco, we were the tip of the spear. We did concerts in Golden Gate Park and in Union Square. And the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence and other protest groups came against us, not just to protest, but to cut the cables and to destroy equipment. And I was told there was men that showed up that stood between them and our equipment, and things were not destroyed. And we did a evening service at a church near the Castro, and there was protests outside, and I had forgotten this. Christy Otteson told me this. And they were protesting, and we said, "Why don't you come on inside, and we'll talk to you there." And they said, "Well, aren't you Christians aren't supposed to hate us?" I said, thought we're Christians. We're supposed to love you. We're not supposed to hate you. We're supposed to love you. So they came in and they listened to us sing, the Dave Bruce and Christy group, and we hugged them and enjoyed singing for them. And I don't know what happened for them, but I'm glad they saw that Christians came to love and not to judge. But our enemy came against us and our church collapsed and many things fell apart. And over time, temptation hit me. One night when I was alone and tempted, a friend came out of my past that I hadn't seen in about 6 years. How he knew where I lived in the Oakland Hills at this point, I'll never know. But he showed up and we talked and he smoked a joint, excused himself, and I said, go ahead, you can smoke that, it's fine with me. And I had a little bit, and I knew it. I'd opened a door. From there, I let myself do other things. I let myself have a little drink. I let myself go. Began to fall back into sin. Left the bands I was in. And betrayed the God that had set me free. I still believe, but I didn't live it. We'll continue this next time.